all, welcome to the Marquee Matchups predictions for the 13th of October. Plenty to delve into as usual, a lot of games across a lot of leagues, and it's going to be fun and games to be had here. So if you can smash like, as always, be much appreciated. Sub to the channel if you're new, follow me on Twitter, G as a legend. All links are down below for posting the channel and social media links as always. Remember to hit the bell if you want to keep up with videos and all that good stuff, because it goes a long way in terms of support on the channel, especially with Marquee Matchup predictions. One area that I like to put a lot of time and effort into for you guys, and it's just a bit of fun as well. Just keeps you prepared and so forth. So we're going to run through all the games, and then we're going to run through the ones that kind of stand out in our opinion. So all the games for this week is Liverpool Man City, Nantes v Brest, PSG Marseille, Rennes v Lyon, Torino versus Juventus, Celtic Hibs, Real Madrid v Barcelona, St. Pauli v Hamburg, Parma versus Regina, Austria Vienna v Salzburg, Wolfsberger v Sturm Graz, Besiktas v Trabzonspor, Shakhtar v Dynamo, Kiev, Deutsche Gardens v AIK, Göteborg versus Malmo, Brøndby v Copenhagen, Anderlecht v Club Brugge, Kortrijk v Zulte Waregem. It's just Chennai v Bengaluru, and Shelbourne v UCD. So we've got one league coming back in the form of the Indian Super League, but the rest of this is just a lot of, like, not necessarily like same old, but a lot of derbies. And EA, being EA, will probably throw maybe a small league in, as they usually like to do, with three big ones. Now, when you kind of break it down deep down, the realistic ones should be Real Madrid Barca, Torino v Juventus, PSG v Marseille, and realistically, if you're going to go a fourth one, you're probably looking between like Anderlecht, Club Brugge, Brøndby, Copenhagen, Besiktas, Trabzonspor kind of thing, depending on how they want to go about it. But as I said, it's going to be fun and games regardless. Like Liverpool wise, you're generally going to be just looking, like, we'll run through, as I said, like the main six to eight. Like from a Liverpool wise, you're going to look at Tsimikas, Curtis Jones, James Milner, Arthur, and Oxlade-Chamberlain if you want a rare. Realistically, but that's kind of just the real kind of main players. You can look at Henderson, Naby Keita, Firmino if you really wanted to, but at the same time, it's more a case of, do you really want to? So you've just kind of got to balance out your options, as it were, at this stage of the game. From like a Man City point, it's like Ake, Ortega, Alvarez, Calvin Phillips. They're going to be like your main priorities. Like whenever Man City is going to pop up for an SBC, it's always going to be those four players everyone's going to go for. So if it's like Stones in Akanji's too high at the moment because he's like 6.5k. John Stones is an 83 rated, and are you really going to throw an 83 rated into maybe say a 77 rated squad, 77 to 79 rated squad? Highly unlikely. So going for all those players that's like Calvin Phillips, or once Akanji drops down in value, like maybe say to 1,000 coins, then you would say Akanji, Phillips, Ortega, Alvarez and Ake are kind of like your approach. PSG, you're generally going to be having to look at like Bernat, Sergio Rico, Danilo Pereira, Vitinha, Ekitike. Like the good thing is there's a lot of in Sarabia as well. Like the thing is, a lot of them are basically discard, like 400, 500, 600 coins. You'd have a field day, you'd be sorted. Obviously, Nuno Mendes and Renato Sanchez and Mukiele, they're the ones that are a bit pricey. Like Mukiele's over 1,000, Renato's 65k, and Nuno Mendes is 8k. So you're not really going for them. Like Soler's 1,000 coins if you really wanted to, but at the same time, are you really going to? Not really, because he's 83 rated. So from a PSG point of view, I wouldn't personally take that approach. From a Marseille point of view, like the good thing with Marseille is you can pretty much go everybody in the team to buy except for Klaus and Gerson. Everyone else is gold wise is fair game. From Harit, Kolasinac, Velarde, Eric Bailly, obviously Bakambu doesn't even play for Marseille anymore, yet he's discarded. It's brilliant. It's fun and games. Suarez, Mbemba, honestly, you can have a field day. Like, that's the way I look at it. It's like, if you can literally just buy these players and know that you can stock up basically the entire, it's basically like stocking up an entire team and you're sorted. It's brilliant. Torino, obviously they're anyone as well, like Vlasic, Miranchuk, Lukic, Singo, Lazaro, Sanabria, Pershers. Obviously it's a bit disappointing when you've like the silvers these days of like Ricardo Rodriguez, but you just kind of work with it really. And Linetti, those guys, you're so used to being golds, even like Berisha, and but you just work with it and you just know in your head, you're like, right, we know what we've got to work with. Caramo as well, another one that used to be back in the a steady, consistent gold. Like Torino, as long as they don't really, is like with that kind of requirement, as long as they don't make it like you need one from Torino and one from Juventus, as long as it's minimum one from either team, then it makes it more attainable to do. Because otherwise, everyone's going to then just mop up all the golds. And then from a Juventus point of view, like Rugani, De Siglio, Keane, Milik, Perrin, Alexandro, Paredes, Danilo, Rabiot, like everyone's just going to go for them. Even like people go as high as Locatelli. So it just kind of tells you kind of the state of like SBCs these days for some teams, especially when like how a lot of them are like non-rares nowadays, and people feel like they've got it sussed in terms of how they've really go about it. Like Celtic and Hibs, I can't really see them going simply because they're going to try and leave it for Hibs and Hearts or Celtic Rangers. That's kind of what they're going to do. Obviously from a Real Madrid perspective, because El Clasico should happen, it feels like a lock, but at the same time it's that assumption. But like Lunin, Vallejo, Ceballos, Odriozola, Camavinga, Lucas Vazquez, they're the ones that you're realistically going to go for. Even Nacho Fernandez, people will probably try and just say buy because he's like not even 1,000 coins, he's like 800 coins, and like you generally don't know how they might set up the requirements. If they set up for like a 79 rated squad, even if you've got like an 80 to 82 rated player in your team, you can basically in essence just go like low rate around it. So it has that kind of like fallback, as it were. It makes all the difference really. Like from a Barca perspective, you're looking at Eric Garcia, Marcos Alonso, Hector Bellerin, Gavi, Fati, Sergio Roberto, and if you want to a slight different extent, Christensen, Ferran Torres and Gerard Piqué are generally going to be three others that you will consider. Piqué obviously is an 83, but he's basically discard, so that's where he'll come in handy for it. So it's definitely one to keep in mind with that, in essence, really. Like for the lesser games like St. Pauli, Hamburg, you're generally just going to look at like the silvers, like from the leagues. These like leagues: St. Pauli, Hamburg, Parma, Regina, Austria Vienna, Salzburg, Shakhtar, Dynamo, Deutsch. Like basically, what you're going to look is silver and like whatever the league is. So namely, like not just the league, sorry, but the nationality. So you're going to look at like St. Pauli in Hamburg's case, you'll look at Germany. So you'll maybe go. Your best bet is having one player from that team. So either St. Pauli, Hamburg, Shakhtar, Dynamo, Kiev. You basically want to have one player from that team, at least in your club, and that nationality. So you want Germany or Ukraine or Austria or Denmark or whatever way you want to, or Belgium, whatever way you want, or India, whatever way you want to approach it. As long as you're covered your back with silver, and that, as long as you, and if you want to be as well covered with a bronze, because they'll probably maybe set it up where it's not just maybe minimum silver players. They might do like say a minimum 3 to 5 or 6 silver players and then a handful of bronzes. So having at least the team and the nation covered, and like even like rating requirement, you've at least got the fallback of both, as it were, to kind of fall back on. But for me personally, for this week, my main ones I would cover my back with is Liverpool Man City, PSG Marseille, Torino versus Juventus, Real Madrid v Barcelona. Like they're your big 4 games that you want to be covered for. If you want to be covered for 4 small games, then I would be covered for Besiktas, Shakhtar Dynamo, Deutsche Gardens AIK, Brøndby Copenhagen, Anderlecht Club Bruges would be all my kind of like shouts, and even St. Pauli Hamburg as well, because of how Hamburg are playing domestically as well. So even if you're like, it's cheap enough to buy the silvers and bronzes, they're like 150 a pop, so you're not exactly going to be breaking the bank. Being prepared early is what's important. But let me know, folks, what you're going to do for this marquee matchups, if you're going to do it for any form of trading, investing, and what your pack expectations are. So smash like as always, sub to the channel if you're new,